might want to tone some of our pieces for a couple of reasons. Number one, in this particular piece, I've got an awful lot of the black and white and gray and brown going on here. And if I'm wanting to add a little bit of color, I probably am not going to choose encaustic paint, which can either be translucent or opaque, but I'm probably not going to choose that as my first choice. I'm going to want to add some more subtlety to this. I'm going to want to keep some of these different values in here, but I want to just add a little bit of color. Another reason I might want to tone a piece is for the opposite. I have so many things going on in this piece, and I'm not sure it's salvageable at this point. So I like what I was going for, kind of an underwater feel, and I like what's going on in this area, but some of this is not working. So sometimes by adding an overall tone with some of these materials, you can create a unity into the piece and gives you a next step on where to go. So let's look at some ways to tone. As I said, adding a wax glaze is a way to go. So let's add a little bit of the orange here, a little bit of the red, and to create a wax glaze, I usually like to work in these little tin, the lids of it. I'm going to add a little bit of the paint, a little bit of the wax paint, and a lot more medium. So I'm going to add more medium, and I want to really thin this out. I want just a hint of color, but not a lot. Take a little bit of my red out, just make sure I don't have anything really dramatic going on, and see what I get. All right, so I can actually just check this out. So I want a little bit lighter glaze, so add a little bit of more medium. Check it out, it's a little bit better. So now I'm going to just create, let's start with the sides, and just create some color. Try to unify this piece a little bit. So I'm going to add some shading in this area. Bring back in some red on this side. Maybe not over the whole thing, but just add a little bit of unity. Okay, so now what we will do, because it's wax on wax, I'm going to fuse lightly. And what I'm looking for at this stage probably are values. I'm looking at the overall light and darkness. And so let's let this cool off. Another way to glaze is to add alcohol inks. But I'm just thinking probably what I'm going to do first with this is actually add oil stick. Oil stick is something that it's kind of my go-to medium, my go-to material of choice. In fact, in my book, very few of any of the finished pieces are done with any kind of encaustic paint. I tend to use oil stick for all my color. So in this piece, I'm going to want to tone this. I'm going to add a little bit of, I like the alizarin because you can see how translucent it is. And I've already toned earlier, I've added some oil stick to create these darker areas. And now I'm going to create some color in here. Wherever I have a roughness, I know that the oil stick is not going to want to work on it. And I'm not going to put it all over, but I'm just going to create some tone. So this is already creating a little bit more light, a little bit more interest. And because it is paper, let me just get because it is oil, I'm going to take a little bit of it off. Just want to create a little bit of color here. And again, as always, I'm going to fuse lightly. and let this set up. If you are investing in oil sticks or pigment sticks and you're interested mostly in toning, then be sure that you look, most of the companies will use transparent, semi-transparent, or opaque. And so be sure that you go for the transparent glazes. They'll work best on the wax. Another piece that I like to use, or another tool that I like to use for toning, again at the very end, toward the end of something, is I like to use alcohol inks. And I use them in conjunction with their extender. And I've used a variety of them, so I really can't say which is better or worse. But I like alcohol inks. They add a quality to the wax, which is a glaze quality, which you can't get with anything else. So if I'm to use alcohol inks, I'll always use it toward the end. I know I'm not going to put another couple of layers on there, although you can. It's just not something that I do. The other thing I like about alcohol inks is I like the fact that I can mark with them and I can shade with them. So I can extend them out, but I can create a kind of a halo effect. And with the extender, I can keep them working a little bit longer and move them out a little bit further. These are addictive. Sometimes I'll forget to talk because I just love this process. So we'll go over here and let's just create a little balance. So again, I'm just going to use my little applicator. You can probably use cotton balls for this, but I like the fact that it has a handle. And extend it a little bit. Alcohol inks dry really quickly, so I find that this extender works well. It allows me to really move this out further. One more little piece up in here. Okay, so I've created a little bit more drama with the alcohol ink. Close those up. They do tend to go very quickly, so be careful that you keep them closed. And you can get this off with alcohol, with regular rubbing alcohol. Another thing that you can do is to actually add some gold leaf to your piece. If you happen to use 24 karat gold leaf or 18 karat gold leaf, you can actually use it underneath the wax. But if you're using gold leaf, you're going to use it on top of the wax as a final piece. Normally when you're working with gold leaf, you need something to make it stick, but the wax itself is sticky. And so all you need to do is to touch it to the surface of the wax, and then I use a stiff brush to shape it. So all I've done is gone back over that piece that I used earlier, put a little wax on it, the stencil design that I used of the sun, put a little wax on it, and create a little glitter piece. And maybe just a little bit of accent over here, just to create a final little finish. Nice little balance, and this piece is almost done.